Oh my goodness. This record, Pat Benatar was something else. She could rock. We need more female rockers. Period. And they could rock. Joan Jett could rock. Remember Fanny? Charity Ball back in 71. All female band, they could rock. And so did Pat Benatar. Heartbreaker, her first hit, late 79, early 1980, and then there was We Live for Love. And her voice was phenomenal in that record. When she hit the chorus of We Live for Love, her voice just rose. It soared like an opera singer. Indeed, she was trained as I never heard of this. She was trained as a coloratura, which is a form of opera singing. Well, the song that I'm going to talk about, well, at number 32, up from 34 on my fantasy playlist of March 18th, 1983, A Little Too Late. Pat Benatar, the early stages. Now, she mellowed out a little bit when she did Love is a Battlefield, and there were several others. But, God, early on, she just rocked. She rocked the house. Shadows of the Night from the album Get Nervous. Her fourth album, and Shadows of the Night was the first single off that album, and just blistering rock and roll, as only Pat Benatar can deliver. And then there was A Little Too Late. Love the drums at the beginning. The drums, the classic 80s boom, boom, boom drums. Gotta have those drums. It's one of the building blocks of rock and roll. And she understood rock and roll. Pat Benatar. God, We Live for Love. You gotta listen to that record. I was blown away by that record, listening to it on Top 40 radio back in the spring of 1980. She just had a beautiful high range. Pat Benatar. She was working as a bank teller in Richmond, Virginia. This was early on. This was early 70s. 1971. She saw Liza Minnelli perform in concert, Richmond, Virginia. Pat Benatar watched Liza do her thing, and she said, I'm going to pursue a singing career. At one time, she was a singing waitress at a nightclub. It's called the Roaring Twenties. A singing waitress, Pat Benatar. The spandex Pat Benatar, the early incarnation of the spandex rock and roll Pat Benatar, happened in 1977. There was a nightclub in Greenwich Village called Cafe Figaro, Figaro, something like that. They had a Halloween contest. Oh my God. Pat Benatar went to town. She decked herself out. She dressed up like a character from a science fiction movie called. I just found out about this movie. I'm so excited. Uh, the movie was called Cat Women of the Moon. Cat Women, I'll talk about that movie in just a minute. But she dressed up as a character from Cat Women of the Moon. Halloween contest, Cafe Figaro, Greenwich Village. Later on, she performed at a club live wearing the same costume. She kept the costume on. She did the thing at the Cafe Figaro. She had a show that she had to do later that night. And that place, that cafe, well, that nightclub she sang at was Catch a Rising Star. Catch a Rising Star was a comedy club. It was a chain of comedy clubs that started in New York City, spread across the nation. A lot of comedians got started there. Catch a Rising Star still wearing that outfit from that movie, from dressed up like a character from Cat Women of the Moon. Now, isn't that fabulous? Cat Women of the Moon. Gotta talk to you about that video real quick. Came out in 1953. It was a 3D science fiction movie. Cheesy yet incredibly brilliant. The movie was about this spaceship, and spaceship had, well, it had wooden tables and rolling chairs. It's the 50s, baby. And the spaceship landed on the moon, and they came across 8 cat women. They were dressed in what is called unitards, which is just, it's kind of like a leotard, but it's a one piece garment that covers the entire body. Elaborate, they had these beehive hairdos, and they elaborate cosmetics. And these 8 women were surviving members of a 2 million-year-old race, and they were living deep in caves. They had telepathic abilities. They lived with these giant spiders. I mean, and I guess you saw that movie Pat Benatar did and dressed up as a character. I'm just seeing, I've just got this vision of Pat Benatar singing on stage at Catch a Rising Star in the fall of 1977, dressed up in this unitard, maybe a beehive, like that movie that came out in 1953. Well, all right. Enough is enough. Got to finish up. It's about 1:30 in the morning. It's time to retire for the night. Pat Benatar rocking. A little too late. And one more thing. I read her autobiography. Fabulous book. Great book. Enjoyed it. Pat Benatar. A little too late at number 32 on my fantasy playlist of March 18th, 1983.